Hey everyone, my name is Rooster and welcome back to Mechabellum. I have a double helping of aerial aggression for you guys today, starting with the old, meaning a boat push, and then a game highlighting the new, aka the new Wraiths, who are exceptionally good, I think, at pushing. For you guys who are interested, let's have a quick look at what techs I am running on both units. On the boats, I have chin guns, mothership, boat on a mission, and then jump drive. And on the Wraith, I have floating artillery array, range enhancement, armor enhancement, and high explosive ammo. For those of you who are interested, I don't run degenerate beam because I don't think it's a good tech. It lacks range and it gets countered quite easily by photon, but even then it just doesn't do quite enough for me. And field maintenance is kind of up in the air. You could take out armor enhancement and take field maintenance instead if you prefer. I like it just to be able to counter things like fangs or especially mustangs if people want to rely on that to try and counter your wraiths. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into game one. And so here we are. This is a game being played against GCU, and right away there are a couple nice options here. GCU goes for the supply spec Fang Stormcaller. Quite a good card, especially if you want to play something like standard. Supply spec will always benefit you, getting some nice economy in there. For me, I have a couple options and I decided to go for Mustang Crawler. This is not a pack that I particularly enjoy because I think it gets countered. It can get countered by a lot of packs, but into this, it's actually quite good. Crawlers are good into both Stormcallers and Fangs, and Mustangs are certainly good into Fangs as well, so shouldn't be too terrible for me. I expect my opponent will take Arclights, however, so I might struggle a little bit, but let's see how this goes. Quite a central positioning here for my opponent. Goes for some late Fangs to protect the flanks already and also have some late chaff coming in, and decides to put the Stormcallers in the middle to make sure that whatever side I decided to push, if I do so, the Stormcallers will be in position to help out and defend. And yep, there we have it. Instant Arclight here for my opponent. Will likely pull a lot of these units as well, so I expect this will be quite hard for this side. Maybe these guys can do something, let's see, but Arclights will definitely be powerful, and it looks like my opponent has also gambled correctly here. Only has 2 Arclights, but puts them on the right side, so this might be a struggle. For me, I am still debating what to take. I am quick supply, so I actually decide to go for even more Mustangs, and I make sure that all my crawlers are centered. So that my Mustangs have got some chaff at least and will get targeted immediately by the Arclights I was expecting. So yes, middle gets completely pulled, but luckily I do have a lot of Mustangs. Left side goes through, no Arclight there. Tower goes down, and now my Mustangs can have a go at those Stormcallers. Right side is now also winning thanks to that debuff. And we do manage to take round 1. Kind of expected if I was losing this as quick supply, having used all of my specialist bonus basically, I would be in some trouble, but luckily we do take it home. Haste module here shows up, probably what I want to have. GCU skips. I also decide to skip actually. Probably have got something else in mind. Let's have a look. Opponent supply spec, so is able to take a Vulcan here immediately on round 2, and that is going to be tough for me. That is going to be tough for me. What will I go for though? It seems like I kind of had an idea in mind. Perhaps double steel ball? Okay, so that was the idea here. Really wanting to have something tanky, expecting my opponent to counter the vast amount of Mustangs and wanting something in front of that. So steel balls it is. Going for both towers at the same time. Vulcans are very, very good though at dealing with these types of pushes. Steel balls can beat them if they get levels and they get a tech like energy absorption, for instance. But level 1 against level 1, as you can see, the Vulcan prevails. And now, can I lock on and kill it is the question. Oh! And the Vulcan survives. Oh no. Oh no. Not looking good for me at all. Shield airdrop is interesting. A Rhino assault is quite scary for me as well though, and GCU does pick it up because my towers are completely open playing aggro. Other two options aren't really something I would want. So it's between these two. I do decide to go for the shield here. Probably trying to get the Vulcan stuck on the shield for a little bit. Or I can use it to flank. So, okay, I am using it here. I think it's not the right choice, though. Shield airdrop is decent because I can drop it somewhat into the territory of my opponent, which can benefit me being aggro, but I should have expected this. And it looks like the Rhino will go unanswered for this turn. Mustangs here do get a level. They will need range at some point if I want to keep them, and I don't really have a choice. I need to... well, let them stay on the board because there's no way I can sell out of all of this. And this is already maybe also a point where I need to think about a pivot because clearly my opponent is very comfortable right now with the Vulcans in the defense. My balls didn't get a level. And yeah, at level 1, they're just not going to do anything, especially when the Vulcan will start leveling, which might even be next turn. I will need something else to counter this. So let's see what I go for. Still 450 credits. Let's speed up a little bit. It seems like I was really taking my time here. Okay, and I do go for double Mustangs. I guess trying to counter preemptively a flank or the Rhino. So I do answer it, but level 1 Mustangs will not be able to take that down. So a little bit lazy from me, but I guess I'm playing for the long game here. Thinking that, well, those Mustangs will probably be enough late game once they get range to counter most pushes. Or most flanks. And, yeah, just accepting defeat here. Not very nice, though. That looks like 1,000 damage on round 3. Down to below 1,800. Not good. Deployment spec is interesting, but I doubt that I'll actually be going for small units this game. I probably need something big, so it makes no sense. Incendiary, if it lands, it could be good for me, but probably better for my opponent. Does pick it up, and EMP, even though it's good, the blast is like so expensive on round 4, and I'm behind, so I don't think I can afford to take this. I would expect a skip here from me. And let's see what I decide to do. GCU just setting up a good amount of fangs. Some early ones, some in the middle, and some late to be able to create a barrier effectively. And okay, so here I go. I sell my steel balls because there's no way they're going to level. My opponent even went for Scorch this turn, so it looks like it was the right thing to go for. And I see that my opponent lacks anti-air. He's got some fangs, but I doubt that those will be able to kill boats at this stage of the game with no upgrades. So, looks good for me. The reason I went boats is because boats actually are really good into giants, and of course Vulcans can't shoot up, and neither can Stormcallers. So, switching towards air units here seemed like a logical thing to do. And it looks like it pays off as well. I do it on the round that the fire shows up too. Perhaps that was another reason for me going for this type of play. Because I knew that the fire was likely going to land and burn all my ground units. So to give myself a chance, I needed the Overlords. Fangs, by the way, were able to take down one of my boats. So surprisingly, one goes down. Other one should survive though. Tower debuff will come through, but this is... looks like half a pack of fangs. Surely it will not go down. Okay. What looks like 4 fangs are left. Let's speed things up a little bit. And yep, there we go. Cleaning up those final Stormcallers and then finishing off the fangs. And that will be the round going to me. Now, I have shown my opponent what I'm trying to go for now, so I expect some sort of anti-air response. Smoke Bomb would be pretty good for me if I can land it. GCU also going for the smoke. It will be good to diminish the range on my Stangs. I'm also getting to the point of the game where I definitely need range, so it would be painful for me if it lands, and it's likely that I won't be shielding since I'm now investing into air units, so it's a trade-off, right? Like, does my opponent actually think it's worth going for, or does he expect me to go for more air stuff? I actually go for a double tech round, and it looks like I did not pick up anything there. So, no items. And selling off those steel balls for a third boat. They now have got the chin guns, and my Mustangs indeed do have the range. Double shields here from my opponent, so indeed he was expecting me to smoke. I, on the other hand, kind of expected him to use the shields because he knew that it would be powerful. And he actually does pick up level 2 Phoenixes here immediately. So understands the threat that these boats are posing to him and goes for an immediate level 2 on the birds. Shields will go down quite rapidly though, and that is a big investment from him. So 150 for the smoke and then 200 for the shields. Economically, I am getting a lead here, which will definitely pay off because these are not very cheap. Good damage on that level 2 Vulcan. He did decide to level it. And yeah, left side, unsurprisingly, has to go up against the stronger Vulcan, and the Mustangs were in the smoke. But the right side prevails. Chin guns doing a lot of work. And that boat just about surviving there. Phoenix is not able to take it down. And here, my units finally clean up, get the last tower, and get the final Stormcaller. Improved firepower control system, very nice on Stangs. Laser sight, likewise. For my opponent, orbital would be good too, but decides to go for the laser sights instead. Probably putting them on Phoenixes, I would imagine, to make sure that they stay behind the tower and can shoot at those boats. Could also go on the Vulcan though, meaning that he wouldn't have to take range and would lock on to the ground units faster, because I do not have anything to protect my units. Opponent does go for Stangs. The reason he does this is, one, they will help against the boats, and he knows that I have Mothership available. So if I do go for Wasps, then he immediately has the counter to that. And yet I do decide to pick up the Wasps here. I saw that he went for Phoenixes, and of course their weakness would be air chaff. Vulcans can't burn them, so they will survive, but my opponent reads it correctly and goes for the Stangs with the laser sight. I, on the other hand, go for the orbital. And I have my shield available again as well, deciding to protect my most valuable pack of Stangs here, level 3 with the range. And immediately range tech here by my opponent as well, and notice that again he went for the immediate recruitment at level 2. So I'm going for a tempo play here, picking up the orbital instead of the great items, I have to say, that were offered. But it does seem to pay off. Last missile from the orbital there hitting those Stangs, meaning that I can finally get some tempo back in my favor, because I was struggling in the first couple rounds. And now I'm getting some goody XP on the Mustangs. My boats are doing their job. And I'm getting to a point of the game where I can afford to drop more boats and get the techs that I want. Senior attack, very good card, also good for me. It is the Rhino drop round, so I should be somewhat wary of it, although level 2 Stangs with range might actually be able to take it down. So I could also drop like 2 missiles on the towers and try and slow it down a little bit and hope that my Mustangs can clear it. Nano Repair is also somewhat interesting, but into high level Phoenixes I wouldn't really do it. Opponent also goes for Aerial Spec now, picks up another 2 packs of level 2 Mustangs. And I go for the Underground Threat. Okay. I went for it on this side because he didn't have the Mustangs there at first. And I go for double Overlords. I'm putting all of them here on the same side, probably. Oh, one on the flank, actually. And putting the crawlers in front. Okay, so I am thinking this through a little bit. I'm thinking, okay, I'm spawning some chaff. He didn't have anything on the outside last round, so maybe he won't have it now. Turns out that he does. And in case that he does or puts Mustangs out there, I'll have the crawlers to distract a little bit so that my Overlord can spawn. And here I'm pushing asymmetrically into the tower to try and get an early debuff so that my other units can take care of those units there and be helped by that debuff. Oil does drop, so we'll be burning most of my Stangs probably. Rhino drops over here. And I did not... Ooh, my Mustangs were too far away, it looks like. And I get lucky here, I have to say. I mean, I was banking on the fact that my push would get an early tower, but did not actually defend that Rhino properly. But it seems that it doesn't matter. Overlord's too strong. Mustangs are now online and dishing out damage. And the Rhino was too little, too late. Debuff did not come in time. And that is going to be GG. Triple boat survives. 1200 damage plus Stangs. Solid stuff. So what this showcases is, I guess, how to pivot. I saw very early on, I wanted to go for like a ball Stang push, but they won't work if your steel balls get countered early, and they did. The Vulcans got rid of them immediately, they got no experience, and especially once my opponent decks Scorch, there is just no hope that I will actually be able to pull this off. So instead, I decided to go for something else. Use air units because my opponent didn't have anti-air at the time. So hopefully I can keep building the pressure on the air units and make his investment into very strong ground defense not worthwhile. So yeah, solid stuff right there. Let's move on to game number 2, where we'll be playing Wraiths. And here we are. Game number 2 against fellow streamer Sacco. Let's have a look at the cards that are available. Aerial Spec is picked up by me. Steel Ball Fang Opener. I really like this pack. You get a ton of hit points, 4,700. Steel Ball Fangs work really well in combination with Wraith that you can now unlock for free. The 10 increased range also helps out massively because, of course, Wraiths do not have a lot of base range, only 55, so bumping that up is going to help. And then the Steel Ball Fangs are great units to push with and to provide a front line, basically, so that my Wraiths can do the job while these units basically die and create a distraction. Opponent goes for a Crawler Phoenix opening and is Giant Spec. This is not a fantastic spot for me to be in, I would have to say. Knowing that I want to go for Wraiths, Phoenixes will be quite tough to play into, at least early on. Late game, if I have enough Wraiths with like double techs, I can probably pull it off, but these early rounds might be tough for me. And I'm deciding to put everything on the line here, it seems. I don't really care about things like center missiles. I'm just basically trying to get to a point where these function as my front line, and my units that will be behind, the Wraith, will dish out the damage. I do pick up some Arc Lights here because I know that my opponent has crawlers and none of my starting units are going to be good into that. So picking up the 2 Arclights here to try and mitigate that. Seko does go for more crawlers, so this should be a decent pickup for me. Probably though, I won't be able to kill those phoenixes with all the fangs being so far up front. And I have some fangs over here, just trying to defend a tower and delay the tower debuff. Okay, steel balls are getting through, I wanted to say, but it looks like no, not quite. Getting distracted by those crawlers on the right side. And now 3rd attempt. Not quite. Those pesky phoenixes are not letting them through. Finally, the fangs do get it. Looks like my fangs on this side were actually doing a good job with the tower debuff. It's really close. Not quite enough to take those down, but we get a pack of phoenixes and we get almost all of his units. So I would say not a bad first round, considering that our starting units were definitely not ideal. Heavy armor shows up, great card, I immediately pick it. Strike spec would also be decent, but I think heavy armor, especially on things like a Wraith, are fantastic. Let's see what I decide to go for. I don't quite have the money, I think, to... I could buy and unlock 1 Wraith, but I really do appreciate my deployments. So it's a bit of a trade-off here. Do I already want to get a Wraith? I have the item, or am I going for something different? Opponent unlocking fangs, going for even more chaff. And I do decide to go for a chaff round myself as well, unlocking some crawlers, putting those fangs on the towers just to defend a potential flank. And then putting the heavy armor on my steel balls for now. I'm likely to sell them at some point and then transition it onto the Wraith, which is still the game plan. And putting some crawlers on the side there to make sure that the path is open for my steel balls. And this time they do get in, 1 dies, but the other one finishes the job, and I do get a tower debuff. Got some more fangs alive on this side, but wow, those are fast. Crawlers, too strong, do get the tower, but my units are all very far away, so not really able to make any use of that. And with the double arc lights and the steel balls, this should be a round 2 going to me. And now we finally clean up the last crawlers. Mass-produced Wraith shows up. This card is amazing. If you're aerial spec, I think it's so worth picking up. You do lose the 10 range, but you make up for it with your aerial spec, and then you only lose 15% attack and HP for 100 reduced cost in deployment, which is amazing because Wraiths are fantastic if you have a lot of them. And this card enables you to do that. And the loss of attack and HP is just not that significant. It's probably one of the best, if not the best, mass-produced card out there right now in terms of reducing your unit stats by only this little. Okay, so opponent goes for a Vulcan here and has created the conga line of fangs to try and slow down. It also makes sure that all my units are clumping up towards the middle, making it very easy for my opponent's Vulcan to take them down. Heavy steel balls though, able to lock on, but they do die. My opponent leveled those phoenixes and they are dishing out quite a bit of damage, 40k damage already this round. Flanking Wraith is getting through, does get the tower. Will it be able to take down the Phoenix, though, is the question. I doubt it. If it's able to take down the Vulcan, though, I'd be very happy. Oh, just about. Just about. Only the Phoenix is surviving there. That makes me a happy man, because I wouldn't like to lose those 400 credits. Parasitic ammo shows up on round 4, and I do pick it up because it's kind of a must. It's pretty good for me. I mean, I can just put it on a Wraith. For those of you who don't know, air units, when they get killed, do not spawn crawlers. So if you are mostly air-based and you have good chaff clear, or you're up against predominantly air units, then Para is very good. Now, obviously, my opponent has got Vulcans unlocked. This one already has an item, which is sort of a saving grace, but he could purchase another Vulcan and put it on that if he wants to. Alternatively, improved firepower control system is decent, and ranged spec, I don't think it's worth it. It's a big investment, and I'm already quite close to him. Let's see what he decides to go for. In fashion, I am now picking up even more Wraiths. One of my towers also been leveled, by the way, and I decided to pick up some Phoenixes, which I also can unlock for free, and throw them on this flank, as I noticed that my opponent does not have anything to defend that. An opponent goes for replicate crawlers. Okay. Also did pick up parasitic ammo. So I imagine that's the way that he wants to try and win this. I also have mostly got fangs. Yes, and he does put the crawlers in front of those fangs to try and replicate off of it. And the crawlers that he will spawn with the parasitic will also have replicate. So a nice trick. And unfortunately for me, it seems like those two Phoenixes on the inside actually went towards the flank. I did not expect this at all. I thought they would be safe, because I thought that units on the inside would get pulled towards this side of the field, but no, unfortunately, unsuccessful. I do not get the debuff. I still have one of the steel balls, though, getting through, and getting the tower there, so we are successful after all, but good to know that, well, those Phoenixes would actually turn. I probably could have pulled it off still if the Phoenixes were further back, but oh well. You live and you learn, and we still have a pretty good round here. I think some of my Wraiths might have leveled as well, which is kind of what you want when you're playing this. Wraiths benefit a lot from the levels, especially once you get to like double techs with range and the floating artillery array, doubling your amount of cannons. That's when they really start to become hyper carry units, able to deal both with chaff and with single large health targets. Senior attack shows up, a must pick. Yep, I do pick it up. Speed spec would also be very nice for me though, but I'm just trying to bump up the damage on the Wraiths even more, and I did not get a level actually here. Last turn, by the way, I got the tower because I decided to purchase a mobile beacon and make sure that those steel balls would not get attracted to this conga line of fangs. And it definitely worked out in my favor. Deciding to sell those Phoenixes over there. Just having a little bit of extra cash, enabling me to buy another Wraith and also get the range upgrade at last. Upgrading the steel balls here as well with the heavy armor. They've been doing a good job so far, so no need to sell them. They've served me well. Lot of crawlers on this side, so my Wraith will be quite busy for some time. Steel balls trying to get in, but they are struggling a little bit. Do lock onto the Vulcan again though, and take it down. The heavy armor here, doubling their hit points, doing a lot of work, and we get another debuff going. Let's have a look at what we can do over here. This tower has been leveled, remember, but those are some level 2 crawlers in there, and they do DPS like crazy, so probably will still go down somewhat quickly. but not as quick as their tower. My steel balls putting in some amazing work. I'm quite happy I didn't sell them. And now finally the Wraith also getting a level here with the parasitic ammo. Good stuff. And all that is left is to clear those crawlers. Very nice round. So I'm very happy with this. My opponent now down to 1400 hit points. Portable shield shows up. Another great cheap item to throw onto a Wraith. Do pick it up. Senior defense is also good. Could have been a pick as well. I really like to have the money here though, because I want the levels. I want more Wraiths. I eventually want to have the 8 guns probably as well. But senior would be a good pick too. It's debatable what you prefer. So 2 level 2 Wraiths now. Good items on them. I pick up even 2 more Wraith. Opponent does have the parasitic ammo now on the other side, which is good for me because I'm not really playing on that side of the board. I also decided to take replicate on my crawlers and level them. But unfortunately for me, there's going to be a Vulcan in front of that now. I decided to drop another Wraith on the flank, and I put one here behind the steel balls to get mobile beaconed into the tower. Hopefully it can help out clearing some of the chaff. And get a tower debuff. Wraiths are actually pretty good at getting tower debuffs as well when they get in range. Because of their multiple cannons, they sometimes will just start targeting a tower randomly. Like one of the guns will just decide that it's time to target a tower. And they are very, very effective at making use of it as well. Because, well, they have to get close anyway. So once they get the tower debuff, they will just demolish anything that is around the tower still. Wraith here on the side actually gets in. My opponent didn't have some far back Phoenixes. And with the range is actually able to take out the Phoenix and survive. Now they're working onto those Vulcans, but they are quite tanky and I will need the floating artillery array to be able to take them down quickly. Although so far, not too bad. Level 3 Phoenixes here, but we are able to take them down, and that means there's only this level 2 Phoenix over here remaining that is really a threat to my saucers. Oh, not a good tower debuff. That Wraith will die. Yep. Let's have a look at what these guys can do, but I don't imagine that they'll pull it off. Lot of crawlers still, and that guy hurts. So, yep, there we go. And Phoenix takes down my final Wraith. Not too terrible of a round, though. I'm still kind of in the process of setting up, trying to get some levels, surrounding my opponent, buying even more Wraiths, getting more of those floating cannons that rain doom upon your enemies. And here I did get my levels, so very, very nice. Opponent now trying to match basically every Wraith with a pack of Phoenixes. I can level this one to level 3 actually, and I do have the... I picked up the mobilized battleship. Now I expected my opponent to go for the flank, so I'm positioning it defensively, but it looks like my opponent didn't go for it. So it'll just take a bit of a stroll to get into the battle, but maybe it'll be good. Maybe it'll be good, arriving slightly later than the rest of the units. I finally do sell my steel balls now, because with the amount of chaff and high-level Vulcans, high-level Phoenixes, they just haven't really been able to do the job. Replacing them with crawlers now, and repurposing the heavy armor on one of the leveled Wraiths. Yep, putting it on the one on the flank actually, because that one is taking a lot of fire from the Phoenix. And if I can distract my opponent's units for some time, it'll be valuable. So here we go. I do also finally pick up that floating artillery array I was talking about, and I mean, look at that. Such a difference already in terms of damage dealt. We get the tower debuff. Wraiths are now coming in, deleting the phoenixes. And luckily for me, on this side of the board, there aren't many phoenixes. So, yep, as soon as we're able to take those down, that'll be a big win for me here. 4 donuts are going to survive, it looks like, which will be 1200 damage, and then an additional 100 here from that spawned Overlord. So 1300 damage. Not quite enough to take down my opponent, though. As we now have to clean up those final crawlers munching on the towers. And there we go. Round number 8. Can we finish things off? Skill Specialist shows up, but well, we didn't get really any actives, so not worth picking up, and the rest is not very useful. So looking like a skip here for both of us. And now what do I do? I pick up oil, presumably to try and burn my opponent's units. Yep, so making sure that the opponent's Vulcan will set fire to the oil and then burn his own fangs, because he did tech the portable shield. I also am now getting the range and the speed. This is very important for these wraiths. Remember that floating artillery array actually reduces their movement speed by another 3, which means that they are quite slow indeed. And yeah, they definitely do benefit a lot from the added speed over here to make up for that. And then range, obviously, it is their worst statistic probably, and buffing that will always be beneficial. Even more phoenixes now to match those wraiths. And it maybe... Okay, so no charge shot just yet, but that could be a tech that my opponent goes for at some point as well. And I could probably have tried to attack this tower. It's been open for a while. I just haven't... I guess I was just like put off by that failed attempt. But I think if I put it like somewhere over here, then my Phoenix and Mobile Beacon, the Phoenixes, they could get the tower debuff. And yeah, I mean, things are going horrible this turn. Such a large amount of Phoenixes were added, and now they're just starting to completely delete the Wraiths. I mean, that wasn't even close. Holy moly, that's a lot of damage. Wow, sending me to 500 hit points, down from over 3,000. Bad round for me. Ion Blast shows up. I thought I was finished here. I am not going to lie. I mean, Ion Blast is good for me as well, mind you, but look at my setup. There is just a perfect line of Wraith over here. And yeah, I mean, that looks painful. Let's see how it works out though. I decide to put it over here. Of course, my opponent can't shield his Phoenixes either. So if I can take them down before they kill my Wraith, then maybe I can pull something off. Opponent does decide to shield. And I go for level 2 Phoenixes now. And it looks like, yes, I go for that play again. I had been eyeing the tower for some time. Opponent hasn't been answering this side at all. And learning from that failed attempt, I'm now putting them over here and deciding to beacon them up and over. The reason is because these crawlers will likely cross. And if I don't mobile beacon them up, it's likely that they will be shooting at those crawlers for a long time. So basically making sure that they keep on moving and break line of sight with the crawler so that they can retarget the tower. I also put a Wraith here on the side to further delay the tower and also try and make use of that tower debuff, because obviously even if I get the tower debuff, I still need to deal with these units too. Oh, and that looks wonderful. And it looks like my opponent fluffed his active here. That ray is not hitting my donuts at all. With the range and the conga line of fangs, they're actually keeping themselves safe. shooting at that, and it passes perfectly, hitting none of them. My Phoenixes now get in, also get that tower debuff, and are starting to work on those Phoenixes. My Wraith get the other tower, and I am finally able to bring this home and finish off my opponent. So, good stuff there. A bit of a stressful ending, I have to say. What I could have done here is go for Wasps. Obviously, it's the last like air unit aside from Overlords. It also could have been decent. Overlord Photon Coating is a great pairing with this as well late game. Especially if you are aerial spec, you can unlock it for free. So it's not that much of a economic impact. You don't need to buy the unlock costs for the Overlord. And it works very well if your opponent's trying to rely on something like EMP from Phoenixes or Marksman to disable your techs on the Wraith, which is, of course, very powerful if it works, because Wraiths without techs are completely useless. So that is another thing. But in this situation, I think Wasps could have helped. Opponent does have a decent amount of Fangs, but no late Fangs. So I think that some Wasps here would have helped out massively. Especially shielded Wasps in the final turn could have been a good gut shot. So yeah, that is basically the thing that you have to weigh whenever you're trying to do this kind of a push. Fangs are very, very good if your opponent doesn't go for something like a Vulcan. But once he does, then there's no point in teching Portable Shield because they're going to get burnt either way. And in that case, it's usually better to go for something like Wasps and shielded Wasps, especially into things like Phoenixes, who will have a horrible time trying to clear the air chaff. So, yeah, I mean, that's all I have for this video. I hope you enjoyed this. Have you tried this out? How are you liking the Wraith? Does it need a buff? Does it need a nerf? Let me know down in the comments below, or if you're struggling with something, I can try and give you some pointers. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Feel free to subscribe if you want to stay up to date with all my latest content, and go and check me out on Twitch if you want to see me play live. With that being said, have a wonderful day and take care. Bye-bye.